Hey Falcon fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into today's Atlanta Falcons news and rumor video. The Falcons today, Monday, August 9th, have made a bunch of changes and a bunch of moves. Really one big noticeable one, but brought back some injured people as well, I should say. Let's jump into the big breaking news of the day, and that has to do with the fact that the Falcons have signed a running back. Yes, for a very long time, especially on this show, we talked about how Atlanta is in desperate need of adding another running back, and guess what? They have finally done just so. So, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, just a couple of hours ago, you see that quote, Falcons signed former Texans and Titans, that's important, running back D'Onta Foreman. So Atlanta has added and bolstered their running back depth chart. To what extent? Well, that's kind of, remains to be seen. Now, if you look about D'Onta Foreman, he was fantastic at the University of Texas, some guy I saw when I was covering Baylor, and at Baylor, we played against UT multiple times, and Foreman was a physical beater of a back who also had speed as well, and was a third-round draft pick. The problem is, didn't do much with the Houston Texans, and then with the Titans last year, as you'll see here in just a second, didn't really do much either. Now, of course, Tennessee had, or has Derrick Henry, but still not exactly a big guy that's going to roll in here and immediately take snaps away from Mike Davis. But from a depth perspective, to me, this is a big and important move. Now, again, last year, Foreman only had 22 carries. Literally, that's all he had. 22 carries, 95 yards. His longest carry was 15 yards. Yes, there was, Derrick Henry is sitting there, but still, it's not like D'Onta Foreman is expected to roll into Atlanta and immediately become a 1,000-yard back. The hope is, though, he has something similar to what he did in his rookie season back in 2017. 78 carries, 327 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, that's nothing to write home about, but that would be a start in terms of getting another option behind a guy like Mike Davis, also entering his first year with the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the fact also that Arthur Smith worked with Foreman last year, Tennessee connection, kind of makes us all kind of go full circle. Here was the Falcoholics write-up on the D'Onta Foreman edition. I like what they had to say about this. Quote, he's a player who was easy to link to this Falcons team as soon as they hired Arthur Smith, given that he overlapped with the new head coach in Tennessee and has the kind of physical running style Smith favors, and now he's finally in Atlanta. Or may just be here for the team to take a closer look at and chew up some preseason carries. But it's also possible he'll be pushing Qadree Ollison, Javian Hawkins, and Kaleb Huntley for a roster spot. He's still young enough and talented enough to be an asset to this team as a reserve. So again, we'll see how his preseason here goes, end quote. Now, this does not solve all the Falcons' issues at running back, but the Falcons needed to make this move. It became very clear, especially when they did not draft a running back, one of my biggest gripes with Atlanta, not taking a running back, as you guys know, during the NFL draft, that they needed to add somebody. There were talks about bringing back Todd Gurley or going on to get Adrian Peterson. Seems like those two guys are too old. Atlanta opts to go for someone who at least brand new head coach Arthur Smith understands and has seen up in person, and that is D'Onta Foreman. Now, can Foreman, pop this year and become the running back he was drafted to be at the Texans back in 2017? Possibly. I mean, there's a chance, but I think we need to temper the expectations and understand that Atlanta's plan right now is to go with Mike Davis as the one. They will then have an open competition as they have had the first weeks of training camp for number 2. Could be Foreman, could be Ollison, could be Patterson, Hawkins, Brooks James. I mean, literally, whoever you guys want to go ahead and throw on there can be the latest running back or the number 2 running back for the Atlanta Falcons. Preseason's going to have a massive role in this. Like, Mike Davis is hardly going to play in preseason, maybe a couple snaps here and there, but it will be Foreman, it'll be Ollison, it'll be Hawkins, all battling it out to go ahead and not only make a roster spot, but make an impact on this team from a depth perspective going into the 2021 NFL season. I like the move. I think the move is a good move. It's a solid move, and a move that will make an impact for the Falcons, hopefully, not just in preseason, but into the regular season as well. Smith wants to run the football. The more running backs he has to look at, obviously, the better. All right, grade the now brand new Falcons running back depth chart with the addition of D'Onta Foreman. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know what you guys think in terms of this depth chart. Give me your grade down below right now in the comments section. All right, as always mentioned here on Atlanta Falcons Today, you got to be subscribed. That way you can be up to date when we are up to date. We're literally breaking this news here just a couple of hours after it became official. Qadree Ollison, according to my sources, is already up there at Flowery Branch. He was in pads today for the opening of their practice just a couple of hours ago based on the time when filming this. So that's what we do here. We get you guys the latest and greatest Falcons news, rumors, reactions, depth charts, everything that goes on with the Atlanta Falcons, which is why you guys need to go ahead and go down below and subscribe to the channel. Now, speaking of a potential future move that we could be covering here, it's James Washington. Now, if you don't know what James Washington or who James Washington is or what's going on with him, well, let me break it down. So, Washington has officially requested a trade from his current team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, that's of note because, one, Washington was a highly sought-after second-round draft pick a couple of years ago, but has not lived up to the expectations. Very similar to D'Onta Foreman, as we just talked about, except for Washington had a way better college career at Oklahoma State. He was known as the President, last name Washington, you get it there. He was known as one of the better prospects to come out of that draft a couple of years back versus Foreman, who was good, but not considered or expected to be anything special in terms of a superstar running back. Of course, course, Washington has cited limited playtime, obviously due to the fact they drafted Chase Claypool and the emergence of Juju Smith-Schuster and now Deontay Johnson, and so naturally Washington wants a trade, and honestly, I think it would make a lot of sense. SB Nation website Bleeding Green Nation is a pretty good write-up on the current state of Washington. Quote, Washington has quite lived up to his second-round billing in the Steel City. He flashed in his sophomore campaign in 2019, hauling in 44 passes for 735 yards and 3 touchdowns. He fell out of favor in 2020, especially with the addition of standout rookie Chase Claypool. Washington finished with 30 catches and 395 yards, but had 5 touchdowns last season. He's good at tracking deep balls and should be able to line up inside or outside, end quote. I think Atlanta should make this move, and I kind of say that based on some facts that we learned last week, and that is the Atlanta Falcons are looking at wide receivers. It's very clear that they are trying to bring in another body, whether for camp or for the actual depth chart into the regular season. They worked out Benny Snell, I believe, on Friday. They worked out Khalil Tate on Friday, both of which are former wide receivers. Snell, most notably of the Denver Broncos. I think he's the last guy to catch a pass from, I think it was Peyton Manning in that Super Bowl 50 a couple of years ago. So Snell's a veteran, whereas Khalil Tate was a former quarterback, turned undrafted free agent, turned rookie, practice squad guy with Philadelphia. So it's clear Atlanta has looked at wide receivers, at least in the past couple of days. So why not make a trade for a guy who's honestly one, really good, two, really talented, and three, his best, in my opinion, is yet to come. In 45 games, then the guy's 9 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards, and 90 catches. And that is, again, coming from a roster where he was not the number 1 guy. He was not the number 2 guy. I mean, he was like the number 3 guy basically his entire career and not getting a lot of targets or touches. I don't think Atlanta is in desperate need of a wide receiver, but I think that as you go down this depth chart, you get past Calvin Ridley, you get past Russell Gage, who really is going to be the number 3 guy? Is it going to be Olamide Zaccheaus? He's been iffy his entire career and hadn't done much so far in training camp. Is it going to be rookie Frank Darby? Is it Tajay Sharp? Is it someone else? I mean, Atlanta needs to figure out who wide receiver number 3 is, and I really think that James Washington could be a very good addition to the Atlanta Falcons. He'd also come cheap. Like, the beauty of Washington is, 1, you don't have to pay him a lot on a cheap deal. 2, you trade for what? A 5th-round draft pick for James Washington? A 6th-round draft pick for James Washington? You're going to sit back and tell me that a 5th-round draft pick in 2020, in terms of a wide receiver, is going to be better than what you get from a veteran, at least a young veteran in James Washington? I mean, I really think Atlanta should do this. I think Atlanta should call right now, make the trade, and bring in another weapon for Matt Ryan, because you know that Matt Ryan is going to find a way to go and get him the football. And if he did what he did last year, I mean, what was it? Only a couple of catches, 44 passes, it was 30 catches for 395 yards. He still had 5 touchdowns, which is, to me, a lot better than what Olamide Zaccheaus is going to be able to do this season. So why not make the move? I think that they should. Now, what do you guys think? Do you think the Falcons need another wide receiver? I think that they have to go get somebody or not? Why down below if you think they do. Type N down below if you think that they do not. Okay, before we go ahead and move into our top 5 important training camp news and notes, we always do this at the end of the show during training camp, be sure to go ahead and get your bets in for the first preseason game that comes up here on Friday evening at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Here are your odds right now. Yes, you can bet on the preseason. If you want to bet on NFL games, you can do it with our friends at BetUS. The Titans right now are favorites by a point. They're -1 favorites. The over-under is 38. I'll go under for that because first preseason games, they never score a lot. I mean, it's very rare that one team scores a lot in the preseason. If you want to bet on this game or bet on any other future game, do it with our friends at BetUS. All of our promo codes are back and ready to go for the season. Go to chatsports.com/BetFalcons. Use that promo code Falcons125. Put $100 down, and that $100 will turn into $225 with the deposit bonus that comes with it with the promo code. You use that to bet on all of your Atlanta Falcon games the entire year, win a bunch of money if you bet correctly, of course, and cash that money in and do whatever you want with it, right? I mean, bet on the Falcons with our friends at BetUS. Again, chatsports.com/BetFalcons. Put that up in Google. Go to the BetUS website via that link, and then use our promo code Falcons125. Get that 125% deposit bonus whenever you first sign up. Okay, a couple of quick notes here. Again, these are the smaller stories that you still need to know for the day. Kaleb McGary was back at practice today, according to a source that I talked to. He was not in pads, but was working with the offensive line guys on the side. So he's kind of being eased back in from his injury, which resulted in him being on the PUP list over the past first weeks of training camp. Dante Fowler is also back from COVID-19. He was out for the full 10 days. Wanted to go back on Friday and play at the open scrimmage in front of fans at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Saturday. They did not let him. He's back today. They had to release Deidrin Senat, the defensive tackle, to make room for D'Onta Foreman. So Senat is gone, kind of an underwhelming career in the ATL. The Falcons also waived wide receiver and long shot roster spot wide receiver Jeff Badette, who's a former, I think he was forget what team he was on, but he's a former NFL player. They went ahead and let him go. And of course, finally, we just mentioned the Falcons will host the Titans on Friday, which is, of course, their first preseason game, 1 of 3 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I doubt you'll see Julio Jones, but he'll probably be on the sidelines, so, take for it as you will. We'll finish on this. Who do you got, Atlanta or Tennessee in the preseason game? I mean, I take Atlanta, but, that's just me. Obviously, it's a preseason game. Doesn't mean a lot, but give me your thoughts on who you have for that preseason game, Falcons versus Titans, on Friday. All right, ultimate for today here on our Atlanta Falcons Today update video. Again, the breaking news on D'Onta Foreman. Full breakdown here today. Again, make sure you guys are subscribed in case there are more news or more signings coming, because you never know. Make a trade for James Washington or do anything else, we'll cover it here on the channel. I'm Thomas Mott, again, signing off the rest of your day.